Okay, so I'm gonna walk through a few of these on the video, and I'm gonna show you the supply and demand method because that's going to be the easiest way to do it eventually. Even if it's a little bit of a struggle right now, it will be the best way to do it as we get into more complicated ones. If you're not doing it that way, it's easy to kind of mess up and do things. So I'm just going to work through a few. Walk through it with me, write it on your paper as I go through so you can kind of see how I'm doing it and get used to doing the supply and demand, okay? So here I have I2, okay? So I have two I's. So I know that I'm gonna have two I's. So I just need to find how many electrons are in supply right now. How many do I have? Okay, so that's basically like your have is your supply. Okay, so iodine, they both have 7, so that's 14 total. Okay, my demand, so if they both have 8, right, and there's 2 of them, that would be 16. Okay, so when I subtract, I end up with just 2 electrons, which is just 1 pair. Okay, so that 1 pair, that tells me just 1 line. So I'm just gonna have a line here, okay? I still have to show where all of the other electrons are. So there's 2 here, but I need to show all 14, okay, that they're supplying. So I just kind of start on the outside and start filling in the dots. A single atom cannot have more than 8, so I just have to keep that in mind as I'm filling in. So I'm starting with 2, so 4, 6, 8. So that iodine has 8, so now I have to move on to the other side. And I have 2, 4, 6, 8 there, so I just need to get to 14. So there's my 14. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay, and then each individual atom has its full 8, okay, because it's sharing these 2 electrons right here. So what your supply and demand is doing is it's basically telling you how many electrons you're gonna have to share, okay, or how many pairs you're gonna have to share. Okay, so let's look at oxygen. So I have 2 oxygens. Okay, they're supplying, they each supply 6 valence electrons. Since there's 2 of them, that's 12, okay? If they both have 8, okay, to get my demand, I'm assuming they both have 8. That would be 16, right? 2 elements that both have 8. So when I subtract, I get 4 electrons. That's 2 pairs or 2 lines. Okay, so that means I gotta have 2 lines connecting these oxygens, right? So I gotta show my 12 electrons. I've already got 4 of them, so I just need 8 more. Okay, so I can just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, how did I know that I only could have 4 on each side? Because I had to think about what each atom can hold. I can't have more than 8 dots, 8 pairs surrounding a single atom. So if this is 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. So I can't put any more dots on this oxygen. I had to come over here, okay, to fill in my last 2 pairs. Okay, so that gives me my total 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, and each atom has 8. Okay, Cl2 is very similar to iodine. Okay, I have 2 Cls supplying. They each have 7 valence electron. There's 2 of them, so that's 14. Okay, my demand I figure out because if they both had 8, which is their ideal, okay, it's almost like your demand is the ideal number, okay, it's what they want. So they both want 8, so there's 2, so that'd be 16. When I subtract, find the difference, that's 2 electron or just 1 pair, 1 line. So I just have 1 line in between. Okay, I still have to fill in the rest of my electrons. So I need a total of 14. I've already got 2, 4, 6, 8. I've got 8. I got to go to the other side. 10, 12, 14. So I have my total 14 that they're supplying. They each have 8, which is what they were demanding, okay, because I'm sharing this one line. Okay, let's look here, HCN. Okay, so first, how am I going to know what goes in the middle? I'm looking at my least electronegative element, which is carbon. So I'm going to put carbon in the middle, H on one side, N on the other. So let's figure out my supply of electrons. So hydrogen has 1, carbon has 4, nitrogen has 5, so that's a total of 10. Okay, the demand, right? Well, I know these two are going to have 8 because everything can have 8 except for hydrogen. So if these two have 8, that gets me 16. Okay, plus the 2 from hydrogen. So that's 18. Okay, if I take my difference, whoops, that's 8 electrons, 4 pairs, okay, or 4 lines. So now I just have to figure out where I'm going to put my lines. Okay, so I know I got to have at least 1 to each one because they're bonded. Okay, so where am I going to put the other 2? Because I got to have 4 lines. So here, hydrogen, it can only hold 2 electrons in its valence shell. So it has 2 with a line here. Hydrogen will never have more than 1 line or lone pairs around it ever, because it can only have 2. So it's always going to be sharing in a line. So that means that my other 2 lines to get 4 have to go over here next to nitrogen. Okay, so let's count how many I've got to see if it meets my supply. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I only have 8 electrons right now, but I need 10. So that means I'm going to have a lone pair. So I have to figure out where that lone pair is going to go. It can't go here, we've already said, because hydrogen can only have 1 line. Okay, that sits 2. So does carbon have 8? If it has 8, then it doesn't want any more lone pairs. It only wants 8. So 2, 4, 6, 8. It has 8. So now let's look at nitrogen. Does nitrogen have 8? 2, 4, 6. So it only has 6. So I can put my other 2 right there. So now I have my 10 supplied. Okay, let's look at SO3. Same thing, figure out my supply. Well, first I guess I can say I know I'm going to have S in the middle. I'm just going to have 3 oxygens surrounding it. So sulfur is 6. Oxygen is 6, but there's 3 of them. So that's 18. So my supply is 24. Okay, my demand, remember that's like my ideal, what they want. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4 things, they all want 8. That means ideally they would have 32 electrons. Okay, so I got to find my difference, which is 8. So that's the same thing as 4 pairs or 4 lines. Okay, I know I have to have at least a line to each thing so that they're bonded. So I just have 1 more line that I need to fill in somewhere. Okay, here it doesn't matter because I don't have a hydrogen. Remember, hydrogen is the only thing that can have 1 line. So I'm just going to put it right here. Like I said, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. They're all oxygens. You can just pick one. Okay, so let's see how many electrons I have. I have my four pairs, so 2, 4, 6, 8, but I need 24. Okay, so I've got to put dots until I get to 24, but I have to keep in mind that each atom can only have 8, so I can't have more than 8 on a single atom. So I just start here, 2, 4, 6, 8. So I got to stop there. I got to move down here. Okay, so it already has 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, this already has 2, 4, 6, 8. And then sulfur already has 8 because of the lines, 2, 4, 6, 8. So I just have to double check to make sure my supply is good. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So my supply checks off. Okay, let's look at CO. So I don't have anything in the middle because I just have CO. Okay, supply, carbon's gonna give 4, oxygen's gonna give 6, so that's a total of 10. Okay, remember demand is like my ideal, so if they both had 8, since there's 2 of them, that would be 16. So when I subtract, I get 6 electrons or 3 pairs. Okay, or 3 lines. Since I only have 2 things, my 3 lines have to go all right there. Okay, I have to have 3 lines. Okay, so I gotta make sure I have 10 electrons that are supplied. So I've got 6, 2, 4, 6 in my lines here. So I gotta put 4 more. Okay, so where am I gonna put those 4? Well, remember everything wants 8. So carbon right now only has 6, 2, 4, 6. So I can give 2 of them to carbon. So it has 8. Oxygen only has these 6. So I can give 2 of them to oxygen. So now oxygen has 8. And that gives me my total of 10. Let's look at SO2. Okay, so I know my sulfur is going to go in the middle. I'm going to have oxygens out to the side. So my supply, sulfur has 6, oxygen has 6, but there's 2 of them, so that's 12. So that makes 18 in supply. For my demand, it'd be like if they all had 8, right? So there's 8 plus 8 plus 8. Okay, so that's 24. If I take the difference, that gives me 6 electrons, which gives me 3 pairs or 3 lines. Okay, so again, I know I gotta have 2 there because everything has to be connected. I gotta put 1 more line. I don't have hydrogen to worry about. Both oxygens are the same, so I can just put it right there. It doesn't really matter. Okay, now I just have to go in and fill in my dots. So I have to make sure I have 18 total. I've got 2, 4, 6. Okay, so I have to fill in. So I'll just start here. I think it's easier to start on the outside and kind of work your way around. So here's 2, 4. So I can have 6, 8, but I can't put any more on that oxygen. I gotta move around. Over here, I have 2 here in this line. So I can add 4, 6, 8. So that gives me 8 there. Okay, so if I did a head count, do I have my 18 yet? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I'm just 2 away. Okay, but my oxygens are all full. So now I got to look at sulfur. Where sulfur only has 6 in these 3 lines. So that means I can put the last 2 with sulfur. Let's look at NF3. Okay, so I know N's going to go in the middle. It's the least electronegative. It's also by itself. So that's kind of a heads up that it's going to be in the middle. Okay, so let's figure out my supply. So nitrogen has 5 electrons, valence electrons. Fluorine has 7, but there's 3 of them. So that makes 21. So that gives me my supply is 26. Gosh, that's a lot. My demand would be like if they all had 8. So if I have 4 elements, they each have 8. Demand is like 32. When I subtract, I get 6 electrons, which is 3 pairs or 3 lines. So 1, 2, 3. There's my 3 lines. So I can't draw any more lines. Everything else has to fill up with just lone pairs. So 1, 2, 3. I got to get to 26. So I just start on the outside and work my way in. So fluorine already has 2, 4, 6, 8. Can't put any more on that fluorine. It's got 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Can't put any more on that fluorine. It's got 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Can't put any more. It's got 8. So let's do a head count. Do I have 26? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So I need 2 more. Can't put any more on fluorine, so I have to look at nitrogen. Nitrogen only has 2, 4, 6 right now, so I can put my last two there on top of nitrogen.